most dangerous sport in history is about to be reborn.
Each joust is like being in a car crash.
This is awesome. In 2012, the History Channel aired Full Metal Jousting, a reality show where 16 men compete in a legitimate full-contact jousting tournament. Like real competitive jousting with functional armor and everything, not the scripted stuff you see at medieval times. When I first heard about this, my immediate thought was, that's hilarious. Men will literally jab lances into each other's faces instead of going to therapy. But then I sat down and actually watched the entire series, and I gotta say, I think I kind of fuck with it.
Congratulations, for you have all been handpicked to be here as the first mounted warriors of Full Metal Jousting.
This show takes itself super seriously, like maybe a little bit too seriously, which ends up making it kind of funny. The show is hosted by this guy, Shane Adams, who is very no nonsense.
And be trained by one of the greatest jousters ever.
Is he one of the best ever? I have no way of knowing. One thing is clear though, you can tell that this guy is passionate about whatever is going on here. Some of the most unintentionally funny moments on the show are when Shane seems to be personally offended when the jousters aren't performing well.
So far, this has been a terrible joust.
I didn't know that people did this. I thought jousting was like one of those barbaric Dark Ages things, like the guillotine, where we look back and think, isn't it crazy that humans used to do that? But honestly, compared to the stuff that humans do to each other in modern sports, it's not even that weird. So yeah, like I said, there are 16 dudes competing in basically a single elimination tournament, with the winner receiving $100,000, which I'm willing to bet is way more than any competitive jouster has made before or since. Most of the people there are trained in something related to raising or riding horses.
I come from a family of horsemen. My mother's a professional rider, and my father is a professional four-in-hand driver. You know, it looked like it'd be a lot of fun hitting somebody from a horse.
And a few of them are actually theatrical jousters, which Shane would remind you is a completely different activity.
We've all seen dinner show jousting. This is not that. It's real armor, real lances, and real hits. This is a relaunch of a sport.
But everyone has a base level of competence, which I like. It's not one of those shows where you're supposed to laugh at the competitors for being bad at the game. Shane hates it when people are bad at the game.
I want a kick-ass joust.
So they split everybody into two teams, red and black, but don't pay much attention to the teams. The teams don't really matter. At the end of the day, it's a tournament, every man for himself. If you win, you advance to the next round. And if you lose, you still get to stick around as a backup in case someone gets injured and can't continue. And as you might imagine, in a sport where you're driving lances into each other's bodies at 40 miles an hour, people do get injured. We'll talk a little more about that later. So in a typical episode, they start out by showing the guys in training, and a lot of it makes sense. They train their accuracy and power with the lance. Some of the training exercises are a bit questionable though. Like in this one, they just smash you with a fucking baseball bat. It's apparently so that they can just get used to the feeling of getting hit, because getting hit is the main thing that happens in jousting.
It was awesome. I loved it. I like getting hit. I used to play rugby. I love physicality.
I don't know why that's so funny to me. Since getting hit is the main thing, all of the jousters wear full suits of armor, like head to toe. And honestly, the armor is kind of sick. I don't know if it always looks like this or if they got something special for this show, but this is literally Iron Man. Like, where can I get one of these?
The armor that has been designed for this competition is 80 pounds of 14 gauge stainless steel using as much modern protection and padding that we can set in place, but they still have helms. They still have breastplates. They still have back plates. They still have full legs and full arms. They are suits of armor that has all the elements of history in a modern touch.
As I said, this is a very no-nonsense show, and they focus on the jousting for like 90% of it. But there are some moments where they show the guys just hanging out in between matches. And I gotta admit, I initially figured that putting 16 macho cowboys in a house together would be a recipe for maximum levels of toxic masculinity. But for the most part, these dudes are cool as hell. So I apologize for the prejudgment. They all seem like pretty nice guys. Like this guy Rope is an absolute sweetheart. He prays before his jousts, and he's always talking about his family.
Above all else, Father, that my kids will see this and know that the dad loves them and that that he's trying to live as he's telling them to live. And I thank you for that, in Jesus' name.
Plus, I kind of love the name Rope. I've never heard that before. And there's this other guy, Jake, who's like the class clown who just wants to make people laugh all the time.
Guess what movie this is from? It's Sharon Stone. You like what you'll see?
And there's a real sense of mutual support and camaraderie among all of them. There are a couple of dramatic moments, but they're always resolved like immediately. Like in one episode, the guys are relaxing after a match and a couple of them get a little too drunk and they get aggressive and a fight starts. And I'm like, oh, okay, here comes that reality show drama.
He probably thinks I'm an but where I come from, me and my friends fight it out. And then we wake up the next morning, we shake hands and laugh about it. So I walked up to him, I wrote on a little piece of paper, I'm sorry. He's like, all right, man, all right.
Appreciate it, man.
Sometimes we get rowdy.
Nope. The next morning, one of them immediately apologizes. But honestly, I love that. So eventually, two people are picked to participate in the joust for that round. And they do an epic, awkward stare down for probably a little bit too long. Well, then the coaches pick the horses that will be used for the joust. And that's also an interesting aspect of the show because the horses are kind of like their own separate characters. For example, this horse, Navarro, is steady and smooth, which lets the rider focus on putting the lance on target. But a horse like Praetorian is a little bit rowdy and temperamental, but if you know how to handle him, you can get a lot of power and speed. I'm pretty much just talking out of my ass. I don't really know anything about horses, but these guys clearly love their horses.
There's been many competitions. I go down and I sleep in the stall with my horse. He's not just a horse to me, he's my teammate.
In fact, they're so serious about horses that they sent one guy home over a horse.
Hey! What was that?
He stepped on my foot.
And you punched him in the head.
Had to get him off quickly.
If I see you punch a horse in the head again, no, seriously.
Yep.
Don't punch a horse in the head. What is wrong with you? Landon, take a seat.
Oh shit, Big Daddy Shane is not happy.
I have an absolute zero tolerance policy when it comes to people, not just mistreating my horses, but any horse. So because of that zero tolerance policy, you're gonna be removed from this competition, grab your gear, and that's the reason why you're out.
Listen, these guys know more about horses than I do, but it seems like a pretty bad idea to punch a horse in the face, especially a horse that's not yours. I know they're domesticated, but fight or flight has to kick in at some point, right? Anyway, after a little bit more individualized training, the competitors prepare for the actual joust. In case you don't know the rules for competitive jousting, which I bet most of you don't, it's actually pretty simple. I'll let Shane explain.
Jousting is all about hitting a small target with maximum force. The target is called a gridded grand guard, which is actually bolted to the breastplate of the armor. You will only receive points if you hit that gridded grand guard. A strike on the gridded grand guard earns you 1 point. If you hit the gridded grand guard with enough force to break your lance, you'll get 5 points. If you hit it so hard that you knock your opponent to the dirt, you get 10 points.
I gotta tell you, I can't think of very many games where you're rewarded for destroying the equipment. Shaq would have loved that. The official jousts, as you might imagine, are definitely the highlights of each episode, and it's actually pretty violent.
Jousting is probably the only sport in the world where there is no defense, where there is no evasive move, where there is nothing that's going to prevent you from getting hit. In this sport, you are going to get hit.
You're supposed to aim for the chest guard, but you can easily find yourself taking a lance to the face, to the neck, or even right in the dick. That's not a joke. There are literally 3 separate groin injuries over the course of 10 episodes.
Right here. Oh my God. Oh my God, that's disgusting.
And there goes any remote chance of me ever trying this. Like I mentioned earlier, despite the heavy armor, people get hurt doing this, and it's actually kind of a lot. There are only 10 episodes and multiple people had to be sent to the hospital. But overall, it's a pretty entertaining sport if you're into that sort of thing. If jousting was randomly on a TV at a sports bar, I'd watch it. So now that you know the rules, let's skip to the championship match. This guy Josh is this big Viking looking dude who pretty easily won all of his matchups to make it to the finals. He's very quiet and determined, and you really get a sense that winning the money would mean a lot to him and his family. He is focused.
The final match is between myself and Mr. Matthew Hiltman. He, like the rest of my opponents in the list, is in between myself and my goals, as well as the future and goals for my child. So he must lose.
His opponent is Matt, who was actually one of the people that got sent to the hospital in a previous episode, but he managed to bounce back from his injuries to compete for the cash. He's focused on winning too, but he seems more interested in the thrill and fun of jousting more than the money.
You know, I'm looking forward to some massive hits, some good collisions. I'm looking forward to tasting some sand. I don't want it to come down to strategy. I want it to come down to pain.
So, place your bets, everyone.
This championship joust is going to be a great one. It's the technique and timing of Matt Hiltman up against the brute force of Josh Knowles.
This is a $100,000 pass right here.
The winner of the Full Metal Jousting Championship, Josh Knowles!
While watching the show, I didn't care so much personally about who was gonna win. I was mostly just interested in checking out this bizarre sport. Stuff like that really just grabs my curiosity. Sometimes reality TV is trashy, but sometimes it gives you a window into activities and communities that you would never even think about or know existed. And sometimes, as in the case of Full Metal Jousting, you go in expecting to do some light teasing of what you think is gonna be a group of cringe LARPers. And listen, I'm a huge nerd. I got like 5,000 hours in World of Warcraft. I play D&D every weekend. I got nothing against LARPers. I just feel like sometimes you gotta roast people who take their hobby a little too seriously. But in this case, these guys are pretty chill. Except maybe Shane. Just kidding, Shane. Live your best life, homie. Anyway, that's about it. This show is weird, but also cool in a way. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, please subscribe.